What precisely occurred in the physical space of that room when the terminal executed line 42 of the unindexed program? The restricted file circulates online under the title, "I summoned an entity in a game and it became terrifyingly real." The forensic reality is far colder. Arthur sat in a cracked vinyl chair, staring into the flickering glow of a 14-inch cathode ray computer monitor displaying line-by-line assembly code. The machine quietly processing an irreversible sequence while the storm outside drowned out the steady rhythm of the internal cooling fan. He was waiting. Beside the beige keyboard rested a 1998 magnetic 3.5-inch floppy disk. Its paper label bore a single, handwritten title in stark black ink, reading "exec_gallows." Next to the plastic casing sat a ceramic mug, half filled with cold black coffee that had been sitting untouched long enough to form a dark, gelatinous residue along the interior rim. The terminal did not request a standard directory path. Instead, the software demanded 3 distinct structural parameters before proceeding. It asked for the exact cubic volume of the room. It demanded the precise depth of the building's concrete foundation beneath the damp earth. It required the exact physical distance, measured in miles, to the nearest documented human burial site. Arthur typed the digits in silence, willingly feeding the machine the geometric coordinates of his own isolation. We know he pressed the return key. The pale phosphor screen faded out entirely to display pure assembly code, while a deep, resonant hum began to shake the floorboards. That vibration did not originate from the storm outside. It bled directly from the beige plastic shell of the computer tower. The room surveillance cassette, recovered later from a dusty shelf above the desk, captured a sustained 18 Hz subsonic hum. An audio frequency that low is acoustically impossible to generate through a standard internal motherboard speaker. Yet, the magnetic tape recorded the atmospheric pressure of the room warping under the weight of that impossible sound, pressing against the damp plaster until a localized structural resonance took hold. The air thickened. We know exactly when the noise ceased because the abrupt silence is what prompted the emergency call. I have a copy of Bangor Police Department incident log number 984109 open on the desk right now. The transcript details a noise complaint from an elderly tenant in the unit directly above Arthur, reporting an intense, vibrating pressure that rattled the fragile china in her cupboards before suddenly vanishing. 2 patrol officers arrived outside the basement apartment at precisely 3:31 a.m., stepping into a dimly lit hallway that was heavy with an unnatural, metallic stillness. The men waited. They received no response, ultimately forcing the latch and breaking a cold brass deadbolt that had been secured firmly from the inside. When the heavy wooden door swung open, the officers did not find a struggle, nor did they find a body. They found a detail left entirely out of the local press release. I am looking at the forensic photographs of the entrance. Carved directly into the interior oak doorframe, beginning near the floorboards and dragging upward, were violent physical striations. The crime scene technicians measured the jagged grooves at exactly 2.4 millimeters deep. The wood was splintered outward, peeling away from the grain, indicating that whatever gouged the oak was trying to get out of the apartment, not in. The clinical reality of the documentation is stark. Arthur Vance had inexplicably vanished from a hermetically sealed physical space, leaving behind only damaged wood and a lukewarm cup of coffee, while the machine on his desk quietly continued to run. The surveillance cassette recovered from that dusty shelf continued to record in the dark. I have the acoustic breakdown of that reel right here on the desk. There are exactly 114 minutes of uncorrupted background ambient audio captured on the magnetic tape. When you run the recording through an equalizer, filtering out the heavy rain striking the glass and the mechanical drone of the computer cooling fan, you are left with a stark acoustic void. There is absolutely no sound of a physical struggle. There is no scuffling of rubber shoe soles against the damp linoleum, no tearing of fabric, no frantic heavy breathing, and no human vocalization whatsoever. The microphone simply registers a man sitting quietly in a cracked vinyl chair, followed immediately by an oppressive, static emptiness. The room emptied. The digital forensics outline an equally desolate sequence of events. Technicians carefully extracted the system's internal drive, allowing us to review the terminal execution logs line by line. The registry confirms that line 42 of the obscure program was executed at precisely 3:17 a.m. The logs confirm an exact temporal distortion. Only the endless scroll of raw assembly code remained on the glowing monitor, casting its faint blue light across an empty space. Arthur's terminal was confiscated by state investigators, but the assembly code was never entirely deciphered. The file remains open, and his social security number remains dormant. If you find yourself drawn to the obscure records that fall through the cracks of public access, consider subscribing to the archive. There are many more files in this cabinet. I will see you in the next archive.